Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War Flying Blind event in which the Blind Guardian is added to the game. Sorry that this video is getting out a little bit later than normal. Of course, I was a bit sick earlier this week and wanted to rest up, so video unfortunately a little bit late. But I still wanted to cover it. We still got Gnome event. We still got the World Lore event still going on for a little bit. So still teams to be covering. And of course all the normal weekly stuff. Anyways, let's get over to the troop. Troop is pretty bad. Not really much to say about it. It does come with yellow-purple. As far as the troop itself, it gets to drain up to 10 mana. So it's capped at 10, unlike many other troops that can full mana drain for less mana than it costs. It then gets to explode 1 gem for every single mana drain. This aspect isn't too bad. Though you constantly need mana on the opposing team in order to do it, and has such a high initial cast compared to other explosions that could do for so much cheaper and do so many more explosions, that very, very rarely are you really going to be seeing it coming out. One of the only good kind of aspects that it does have is it gets to summon a Darkstorm at the start of battle in combination with a Magic Link. This is very situationally good, especially for battles where you might need a Darkstorm, but you don't want to use on hero, but you'd still want to gain a little bit of extra benefit. This is super situational, but that combination of traits actually is not that bad. It's almost like a really temporary Umberwolf for very quick battles. You could even use this as a Umberwolf alternative in many teams, such as, for example, a Dragon Soul Lyrasza soul farming team. If you don't want to go with something like a Umberwolf, you have the cheaper option of going Blind Guardian. And honestly, I feel like that might be one of the only few purposes it has. Which also, spoilers, Lyrasza's in Soulforge this week, which you probably already know by now. But this is actually perfect synergy for it if you happen to pick it up. And that's probably one of the only few purposes it's actually going to be used for. Something like Dragon Soul Lyrasza, another Soul Accumulator, either another Lyrasza or something with Necromancy, followed by Blind Guardian, as Blind Guardian will now be the basically temporary Umberwolf replacement. Not only is it cheaper, but it actually is more effective when you're doing a battle that takes less than 4 turns. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up panning out in that regard. But overall, pretty lackluster in every other situation. So, of course, don't forget, normally over in the, gosh, where did they hide it? I know I can't currently see it. I believe it's normally here. Don't forget to get Spoils of War if you haven't already. It's kind of hidden underneath resources all the way to the left. Mine currently doesn't show it because I already got it this week. But you can still buy 10 Spoils of War. It has changed its location, so make sure you grab that if you haven't already. Other than that, event keys. So it is a Darkstone event. So we do have all the Darkstone stuff within the drop table as far as what's available. It is everything you see right over here. Every single one of these is available throughout this week. The only 5 that are not within the drop table is the Troglodyte, which is only from Guild Wars, and the 4 troops that say All-Seeing Eye over top of them, which are from throwing Chaos Shards at the All-Seeing Eye faction. Other than that, every other troop that you see here is available. The most noteworthy drops are things like the Mythic of Possessed King, though there is a second Mythic which might end up blocking you, so do be wary of that. Oddly enough, maybe to get a few more copies of it, Thrall, particularly later in the game, actually starts getting so much magic in the current state of the game that he's one of the best mana generators in the game, oddly enough. He gets a lot of destroys based on his full amount of magic. He only has a 6 mana cost, and he has a +1 purple into himself, so has a lot of potential for creating mana. Not always the best of options, but for longer battles, he tends to be pretty good. For shorter battles, you tend to use Leprechaun, more often than not, but for very long battles, he actually gets better value than Leprechaun, surprisingly. A little bit of a slower start, but more of a higher impact as the battle progresses. So definitely worth having around, though it is a common, so you probably already have it sitting around. And other than that, not really too much noteworthy within this kingdom. The most noteworthy things are probably a Clarion Leech, which you could just get from All-Seeing Eye. Scion, which isn't drop table, but it's very rarely used. It has a mana drain on its skull. Very situational in the current state of the game, though still okay. Possessed King's the most relevant thing in this entire kingdom. It's one of the best mana generating mythics, if not the best mana generating mythics, since it has a lot of board clear and gets a lot of extra turn spam and has some backup transform. It actually has the most transforms of anything in the game. Thrall, which is for mana accumulation, probably something you already own, and that is it. There's not really that many great options from this. I guess occasionally Magnus, but it's normally outclassed by Truffle and other troops that exist within the game. Anyways, that's everything in Event Key Drop Table. Basically, the bottom line is, do you want Possessed King or do you not want Possessed King? Though you do keep in mind, even if you try for it, you might end up getting the Sister of Shadows or whatever her name was, or Mother of Darkness, I mean, which might end up stopping you. But still worth considering because you do want to have 1 Mythic for Darkstone. Darkstone is actually, as of this week, the highest star kingdom in the game. It is the first ever 19-star kingdom, which is pretty relevant. Well, actually, more relevant would be 20-star. But one of the reasons why you would want to make sure you likely have a Mythic from this kingdom, especially if you're getting too close to power level 10, is it is a magic kingdom, so you do get a whole +1 magic for getting it to 10, and it does require you to own a mythic to get it to 10, either Possessed King or Mother of Darkness, so do be mindful of that. Definitely really good value if you currently have under 10 stars and no mythics from Darkstone to consider opening some event keys before the week ends up wrapping up. Anyway, so, World Lore events. We'll be going over a few teams. Initially, we're just going to be doing a single battle here, using what I've been using all week, just with the correct hero class, because I've been using it with a different one in order to level it. But we're using Arachnaean Weaver with Life and Death set to Archmagus, followed by the Blind Guardian, and followed by Possessed King. And let's go tier through this. Basically, how you'll want to do this game mode this week is kind of similar to quite a few of the other ones, though the restriction is one of the weirdest ones we've seen yet. But, as far as the main thing that you're wanting to do every single time is you're going to want to go and basically we're going to want to go with this team and true damage with this. This brings them into kill range. And oh, he had enough skull to kill. Ooh, wait, hold up. That changes all of our plans. Hold up. Well, we got to go all life and death now, which isn't that big a deal. It does slow us down. Obviously, we want to get that Weaver value and then kind of cycle through that. But one nice thing about Life and Death, it does gain durability, so we will be able to go use that to not die, which would be nice. But anyways, we'll throw that down. Catching me off guard like that. What are you doing, game? We'll do this. If it gets transformed, it'll get transformed. Otherwise, we'll just throw a skull and be good to go. But anyways, as I was kind of saying, you're going to want to take the highest rarity battle every single time. This is very similar to many of the other events. Anytime you see the X-Raider battle, you always want to go for that. It has the highest amount of points. Then the next highest is the other legendary one, which I believe says Hydra. Then either of the purple ones is the next best. And then the blue one is the absolute worst. And you basically want to take it in that priority order, with the X-Raider orange as the highest, the other orange as the second highest, the two purples as tied for the third highest, and the blues pretty much is the ones you want to avoid at pretty much all costs. So for example, this next battle that we'd want to go to would be the Gargoyle battle here. But yeah, a really weird restriction. It's Mage, Warlock, and purple. So we got 3 different restrictions all on top of each other like that. And yeah, it really, really limits what we're actually able to use, since there's not too many mages and warlocks, and that's on top of a purple restriction, though most mages and warlocks do already have purple within their coloration. As far as the full list, of course, you get to see it by going into the menu over here, as far as what all the options currently are, as far as what we can end up using. But there's a few good things that you could build an entire team around of. You could do it based on Grey King, you have Possessed King for mana accumulation. You have Wisp if you need some shuffling. You can go Perpetual Purple Storm with your pure purple team, which is very beneficial. You got some Spirit Fox if you need some quick drain. Queen Titania, probably your main damage source if you have no mythics. Really great option for that. Obsidious, if you really need it, has stun. So there's some options in there. Magnus, depending on your team, could even be okay. Infernus, similarly. And there's a few options here or there. Not the greatest, but it will definitely work. And of course, Weaver. We didn't really get to show it for that battle, but of course it gets a lot of explosion every single time he gets his little true damage poke, and kind of goes from there. It's carried us through most of it. But they're starting to get pretty high skull damage. If you're finding you're dying too much, easiest way is just set Titan in first slot and just have Barrier spam. Maybe even Sentinel in first slot if you really need the tank ability to not die. And just run that, Barrier every brown, and ideally be safe. Also, let's go change our medals back to something else in case we do another battle. Anyways, as far as the rest of the stuff going on this weekend, obviously everything else has pretty much already happened this week. However, we do a Vault event, so we will be going over some Vault event teams in a moment once we go over a few other things, but we still have this for another pretty much a day and a half, so make sure to be grinding at that Vault event, as still plenty of time this weekend to go and do so. So definitely a good idea. Main location you want to do it in is either Explorer in 2 or 3 or 1 Trophy Casual PvP. And we'll be showing some teams for both of them in a moment. But first, we got Soulforge. So, Soulforge, I pretty much already mentioned the most relevant thing here, but I still want to re-mention it, of course, and that is Faris Ra. Faris Ra is available this week. He is the best mana accumulating troop in the entire game, having a gain of 150% additional souls just by plopping him in a team. And yes, he does stack, so if you do have 2 of him, he will stack for 300% additional souls, and so on and so forth, though it isn't really too viable to use more than 2 of him. But yeah, really, really strong. Also has a little bit of one-shotting capability. Not the greatest in that regard, but obviously he's mostly used for his final trait, in which he has 150% soul gain. If you're ever looking to do soul farming, this is pretty much what you use it with. A couple different ways that you could do it with, but given a new troop that ended up coming in, you can end up just simply going Dragon Soul, Faris Ra, one other Necromancy troop, since you probably don't have a second Faris Ra, and then this ended out with a with the new eye that ended up coming in. that has the purple storm at start of battle, plus the +1 purple, which will kind of get things rolling with your Dragon Soul and everything. But overall, definitely a troop worth considering if you're looking to finally get onto that soul grind. Unfortunately, Ferrous Raw is pretty much only exclusively used for soul farming. However, if you're looking to really dedicate yourself to soul farming within the near future, definitely worth considering picking up, as all more for pay for itself, even though it costs 20,000 souls. He gets more gain in that in a single hour. So definitely worth considering. Other than that, nothing good in Soulforge as far as things that you can end up crafting. Chalice of Eyes end up coming in through the event. Nothing really too special. It gets to cleanse and give a bunch of life to all allies, which is somewhat relevant in that it gets to do it to itself, but overall pretty lackluster. And then it gets to summon a random all-seeing eye troop. Overall, pretty average, not really something too special. And yeah, that's pretty much that. Other than that, we got Doomed Runestones, which is useless, and Blood Drinker, which I believe was also useless. Deal damage to an enemy and steal half their attack. Yeah, pretty much useless. I guess that could be situationally okay, but I guess if you were to get any of the three, since you'd probably get that from the event anyways, that would probably be the one you'd go for, I guess. Though it's pretty underwhelming. And other than that, we also have Dark Sword, which there's no point in really having it. However, it's super cheap, and you can get it for completionist purposes if you're just looking for a weapon to upgrade in order to go get kingdom upgrades. The kingdom can reach level 19, and I forget how many maxed out weapons you need to reach that far, but one of them could be the Dark Sword if you don't have too many other options. So worth considering in that regard if you're missing a lot of the weapons already from the kingdom. One thing that you could end up doing to get the required upgrades that you end up needing. Anyways, let's go over a few teams. So let's go over the, you know what? I might as well just use the teams in the event. So let's go. We already showed one. Let's just go get the other two and go show every single team in their own event. So next one that we're going to be doing here, well, I guess we got to change our perks back. So let me go change back to that. And let's go back to the World Lore event. Where'd it go? Back over here, back over here. So let's go into the next team and we might as well just show all three. Why not? Let's see, paste team. And we'll get this one in. So right here, we got ourselves Black Manacles, Queen Titania, Possessed King, and Umberwolf. This mostly utilizes the fact that we have Perpetual Purple Storm off of our Umberwolf here. And we'll be able to utilize that in order to constantly gain purple, which is obviously very beneficial given what our team is right now. So right here, we'll go and take some brown, just so we can get Black Manacle. Black Manacle, of course, does have Devour attached to it, which will be very beneficial if we can actually land it. Not too big a deal if we don't, but basically we'll end up gaining all their stats, and we can just go and basically be super tanky. Even if you're not necessarily using something like a Titan or something, you'd still have tank ability. So right here, we're kind of forced to have to go take a really weak battle, which is a little bit unfortunate, but let me go show the other team, which is the one that we did with No Mythic. And this one ends up going based on Reflection of Good with a double Queen Titania into, oddly enough, Lyrasza, which has Perpetual Blue and Purple Storm, which for this instance actually ends up working out pretty well. Kind of like an Umberwolf in that regard, except slightly different in its double color. Technically, Umberwolf is actually a little bit better than it. However, for this specific team, it actually works out pretty well. But anyways, let's go and just get into a battle here with this. And I guess it doesn't really matter which one we choose, so we'll go over here. Did we get it on paste? Yes, I did make sure to change it out. And let's go into this now. Again, I am using Archmages. If you're ever finding you're dying too much, just use Titan, just use Sentinel in first slot, something to tank, something that has Barrier every brown, something that might have score reduction, stuff like that, particularly Barrier on brown. But you can end up using that to basically survive. So Reflection of Good here, you can give a bunch of buffs, get a bunch of explosions, ends up working out pretty well. Lyrasza has a lot of board control while having full AoE, which synergizes with the other full AoEs. She has that a lot of potential there, as far as potentially gaining an extra turn or getting a lot of board clear. You'll mainly only do it after you've already cycled through like your Queen Titanias and everything. And obviously Queen Titania is your main damage source, not only giving 50% additional damage to your spell damage, which stacks on top of the other thing, but it also has the, I guess we'll do one more real battle with this, just to kind of show it off, because obviously that was a super weak battle. But not only does she have that 50% additional damage, but she already has an above average AoE damage, and that all gets multiplied together with the other bonus that you already have through your medal, so you get a lot of additional damage off of it. Anyways, we're going to do this. Oddly enough, we're actually going to cast a Reflection on ourselves in order to ideally not die, as we obviously want to keep the hero alive. So we'll go and bury ourselves, gain a bunch of other positive stats effects. Right here, I'm actually going to wait and go get full mana onto our Queen Titania here. Oh, and then again, never mind. I'm actually not going to do that because we're going to just wait out the turns and just get it that way. So we'll do that. We'll do that. We end up getting a shuffle there, which ends up giving us a lot of our own mana back. Let's go for a little bit of purple here. Looks like we're going to have to wait one more turn since I didn't take the mana directly there. Oh, we can just throw down another Reflection. You can just do it on something that's about to die, or just keep doing it on your hero if you want. And then just kill it out with a Queen Titania. And you basically just rinse and repeat. And that uses 0 mythics. So it ends up working out pretty well. But yeah, and you just take the Exerator every single time. And now if we were to keep going with these, we would take the Hydra and the Hydra, then we deal with all these epic ones until we see another Hydra or an Exerator, and go from there, with the priority order being the Exerator battle, which was the one we just took, then the Hydras, then the purples, and then the blues. And you pretty much just do that for the entirety of the event, and you should hopefully get all rewards, which we're getting very close to. Just getting the last one wrapped up there. And of course you want to set the medals if you have any amount of them, as they give a really substantial amount of skull damage and spell damage as additional effects. Anyways, aside from that, of course we got Vault Event this weekend, and still have that for about a day and a half. As far as the Vault Event, great time to be farming. Honestly, I would say there's only 2 locations you should really be doing this, and it is Explore 2 or 3, and Casual PvP on the 1 trophy battle. The main reason for these 2 locations is they are the quickest 2 locations in the game to be winning quickly. And generally, when you're doing something like this Gnome event, that is your main goal, is to win as quickly as possible. So we're going to set to a bunch of armor. Most of these teams are Rowanne based, as it just ends up working out really good for quick kill. My personal favorite is, of course, doing something along the lines of this, and it is anything in first slot that doesn't block Rowanne, followed by Rowanne, followed by Leprechaun, followed by Maraji Queen. The specific weapon I'm using is the weapon that you get from 250 wins on Dervish. It really does not matter at all, though. If you're doing an Explorer where you can consistently get the kill, which I will be able to here, it actually is never used a single time. It's more so only used if you're like going to drag it into like a PvP battle for the same thing. But as you can see, it's super quick kills. Normally gets like a 15 to 20 second cycle if you could count every single loading screen. And overall wins very, very, very absurdly quick. And winning up very absurdly quick is good, because one of the whole points of Gnome events is it gets rolled per battle. And the quicker you win, the more gnomes you will be able to find. So if you can really quickly just tear through battles like this and just cycle to try to get gnomes, that's the best way to try to hunt for gnomes. This also gives really good hero XP and a little bit of class XP on top of it. So you get a nice little wide range of everything. And you're also technically still getting some medals. However, the medals are very low rarity ones, and you don't get any above the epic rarity. If you even get any epic rarity, as the chance is almost... The chance of getting an epic rarity one, I believe, on Explorer 3 is about the same as getting a Nisha on Explorer 12. So it's very, very rare. You mostly just get the 3 lower rarity ones. However, that's not the reason you're really doing this. You're more so doing it because of the gnomes, to try to get your good drops. Gnomes have quite a few good drops. They have 1,000 glory off a glory gnome. You got the 5,000 souls off a soul gnome. You got like 4 gem keys and 3 event keys and 20 gems and such off the normal gnome. There's quite a few good solid drops in there. And of course, they got the vault key drops. And whenever you end up getting a vault key, you have a chance for Cedric if you don't already have him, which is a gold farming troop. You'll end up getting potentially 100 or 250 gems. You have the chance of all the orbs and all the major orbs in the game. You have the chance of 20 gem keys, 15 event keys. There's a lot of really good item drops that you can end up getting. And a lot of them have gem-related value. And it's one of the highest times you can get like super good gem-related value. It actually has better gem value than doing, even though you don't get more physical gems. It has better gem value than if you were to go do treasure hunts, oddly enough, which is normally the best way that you would be able to get gem value within the game. However, whenever it's a Vault event, that has now changed to basically spam Explorer very quickly, or the PvP options. Okay, so next team. So that was the Explorer 2 to 3. So now we have the Pet Gnome one. So this one ends up using the Phoenicia build. So for this, you could end up doing this on Explorer 5 if you want to gain a little bit of extra trophies. However, the place that this is a little bit more consistent in is if we go drag this into PvP 1 trophies. So if we go over here and constantly keep repicking until we have a weak battle, that's technically a weak battle that we just had there with the treasure. But when I say weak, I mean low in stats weak. Though you could do it against the treasure too if you want to. It'd probably die in a double cast. But basically what we're going to do here is the staff was actually available on Tuesday as well, if you happen to pick it up. Though this weapon is not required. The only thing that's really required is the Phoenicia in this particular instance. But basically we just do that, dead. The reason why this works is same kind of premise as the previous team. A lot of teams are actually built around this right now, or at least as far as quick kill, in that it uses something, a elemental that has really high damage, followed by Leprechaun, followed by Maraji Queen. I feel like the quickest teams in the entire game all use this combination, is because there's a couple of them out there, and this is the other one of it, or one of the other ones of it. And basically what we're doing here is we constantly repick until we find a battle that we can one-shot, and Phoenicia has a really interesting ability in that it gets double damage to anything that is, or once you have a red storm on the board. It also gets additional damage for every single red that's on the board, so it ends up stacking to be quite a lot of additional damage at these kind of lower ranges. When you're at the really low range, Rowanne is quicker to use due to the lower mana costs and the amount of ways they can get full mana off of 4 times, 5 times, whereas Phoenicia can only do that off of one single color. Normally you end up choosing red for that. I forget what I actually set the banner to. Actually, I set it to green, but you can do it either or. I don't think we have a +1. Actually, why did I set it to green? The most ideal banner would actually be a +2 red, +1 green, -1 something. Does that banner not exist? Because that banner would actually be slightly stronger for this. Let me go double check. Is there a, because that's actually the better banner. Why do I not have that set? It might not exist, might be the reason why. No, it exists. Oh, interesting. Okay, never mind, do that. Why did I not already have that banner set? There we go, fixed. Luckily, that will be fixed for when I post it into the comment below, when we have the, when we copy paste it all there later. But yeah, we want to go +2/+2 so we can end up getting the mana just a little bit better. Because now it has +2 total red and +2 total green. This now allows us, if we 5 times on a red or green, we gain full mana. One of the main benefits of the Rowanne team is you actually get even better value than that. Unlike on 5 times and on 5 times for both the colors, Rowanne gets it on both 5 times and 4 times, which gives her quite a distinct benefit because there's a lot more instances where you can end up getting full mana, because 4 times is definitely a lot more common on the board than something like 5 times. But now we basically gain full mana whenever we take a 4 times, 5 times off of Phoenicia, and Rowanne can do, or sorry, only when we take a 5 times, and Rowanne has the same thing, but for both green and blue. So if it was to take a 5 times with Rowanne, you'd have full mana, because the amount of accumulation that you would have from a +2/+2 on it. So Rowanne is definitely quicker than a Phoenicia. However, Phoenicia has, it hits a range that Rowanne is not able to hit. It's basically the range right above what Phoenicia normally does. For the really low range where Phoenicia can kill, use Phoenicia, or sorry, for the really low range where Rowanne can kill, you end up using Rowanne. Then for kind of like that little mid-range afterwards, you start using Phoenicia. And then anything beyond that where Phoenicia doesn't really work, you'd pretty much just use like real actual solid teams that aren't just for quick kill. And at that point, that's pretty much beyond the point in which you would ever want to farm something for the Gnome event. Because if you were at a point where Phoenicia is not working, you're probably doing battles that are too slow for you to really be fully utilizing the Gnome event. So do be mindful of that. And honestly, these are probably the only 2 teams you would end up needing for pretty much any location where you want to go and farm up the event. And one of the main reasons why you would even want to be doing something like PvP to spam for PvP is Pet Gnomes are actually exclusive to only 2 locations within the game, Arena and these casual PvPs. And due to how quickly you can kill with things like Phoenicia here, it is actually quicker to get Pet Gnomes by doing casual PvP on 1 trophy, exactly like we're doing right now, rather than doing Arena. Even though Arena battles can go pretty quick, especially with some of the more overpowered weapons in the game, this actually ends up working out even better as far as win rate. So definitely worth considering if you're really looking to maximize on Pet Gnomes. And if you're ever just trying to find pets in general, Vault events are the best time to be doing so. So definitely worth considering if you're a little bit low on pets, or if you've just been looking to try to find one, or any other reason. Maybe just trying to get one upgraded for a Kingdom upgrade and just trying to find that one. And of course, whenever anyone in your guild ends up finding one, it applies to every single person in your guild as well. So yeah, you could pretty much have one perpetually every single hour throughout the entirety of the event. But anyways, guys, that'll pretty much wrap it up for this video as soon as we go and get this final kill here. Of course, we'll still be streaming a little bit this weekend and trying to get our lucky vault key drops. Definitely the best of luck on your attempts on trying to do that. But anyways, guys, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I will catch you guys soon. Next week's video will definitely be a lot more timely since I'm not sick anymore. And stay safe out there, everyone. Goodbye, and thank you all so much for watching.